morning. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sandra Gikundi, Marketing and Communication for Amu Power. Our press briefing today is really to give an operational update on the Amu Power project. It's actually been 1 year since we were awarded the tender. That was last year, September. We noticed there are a few gaps in the information, so this is really to bring you up to speed on exactly what is happening, how far we've come from that point up until now, and what our goals are for the coming months or for the coming duration.
Good morning once again. Morning. Yes, as you have heard, my name is Cyrus Kirima. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Amu Power. Welcome all. What I'll do is I'll take you through a very brief update, and as Sandra said, let us make the session very interactive. This project was advertised by the government of Kenya, and on April 23rd, 2014, the bids were submitted. When the RFP was floated, there are 26 entities that responded to the expression of interest, and 10 companies were shortlisted by the government. 3 companies succeeded in submitting the technical and financial proposal, and 2 submitted regrets. So the companies that were considered in the final stages were actually 3. And Gulf Energy Center Consortium was awarded the letter to move ahead with the project on the 1st of September 2014. However, we hit some pitfalls. There were litigations that followed thereafter after the date of award, and this continued until the 13th of January 2015. That means Amu Power was granted the go-ahead to implement the project effectively on the 13th of January, and that was 4 months and 12 days after the initial date of award. So we can say effectively that we started embarking on this project on, say, the 14th, the day after the Petitions Committee issued their verdict. The Ministry of Energy showed us the general area where the project was to be located. But as is with all other projects, we had to do some studies. So we embarked on geotechnical, marine, and other studies for the project, which all those were completed on the 20th of May 2015. The engineering and procurement contract was signed on the 8th of June, and the execution of term sheets with senior lenders on the 8th of July. One of the things that NLC is leading is what we call the Resettlement Action Plan. We expect this, which NLC is doing in conjunction with the Ministry of Energy, to be completed by 30th of October. And that is that to involve identification of the project affected persons and the parcels of land that they occupy. If we look at that journey from January 14th up to December, you can see actually we are ahead of schedule on project implementation. What are the economic importance of this project, both to the local community and Kenyan at large? During construction phase, we expect that Amu Power will ensure the community participates and own this project. I think the Constitution is very clear that for any national project, the community within the project area must be involved. We expect that a significant portion of construction will also be subcontracted to the locals to enhance the local content to the project. We also expect that the raw materials that will be utilized, apart from possibly what will be imported, will be sourced locally and through the local community or through local business people. And these projects will create direct employment to about 1,000 local residents. Okay. Obviously, there will be other expertise that might be sought from other places, but we put emphasis and priority to the local community. As a project, will pay taxes to the county government and therefore enhance revenue generation for Lamu County. The power plant will attract local and foreign investors within the county and especially within the general upset area. And the profile of Lamu will be raised internationally, locally and internationally.
Basically, a project of this nature needs to comply with our Kenyan legislation and also needs to comply with international standards. The funding for this project is being provided both locally, and funds are going to be sought internationally as well for the project. First and foremost is compliance with our own local laws and regulations in Kenya. And this particular project, as is indicated on the screen, is going to comply with the requirements of Chapter 5 in the Constitution on land and the environment. The principal statute that we have under the environmental side of things in Kenya is the Environment Management and Coordination Act of 1999, and it has subsidiary legislation as well. So the project's going to comply with that too. The Occupational Safety and Health Act, from a safety and health perspective, we need to comply with that. It's crucial to comply with the County Governments Act, the Energy Act, the Land Act, and so on. So we've got a number of pieces of legislation that we've just highlighted on the top here, but the reality is that there's much more legislation that we didn't want to bore you with as far as this presentation is concerned. The African Development Bank is providing what is referred to as the partial risk guarantee for this project, and therefore we need to satisfy their standards. They have standards on environment and social performance with respect to any projects that they are going to finance. We also have the World Bank, which has developed guidelines on environment, health and safety with respect to thermal power plants. So our coal power plant falls under a thermal power plant. And we've ascertained and we've gotten a commitment from the EPC contractor, the engineering, procurement and construction contractor, that they shall comply with the requirements of the World Bank environmental standards, especially on air emissions, with respect to this power plant that we're going to build. The Environment and Social Impact Assessment has been carried out in accordance with the law that I just stated, the Environment Management and Coordination Act, and it is being reviewed at different levels. We have internal reviews that are going to take place. We have reviews that are going to be done by the African Development Bank. We have reviews that are going to be done by what we refer to as the owner's engineer, which is based in the US. We also have the lenders of the project that are going to review the ESIA. The county government is also going to review the ESIA before they can decide whether they want to approve or disapprove of the project. The county assembly as well, the communities who are going to be affected by the project. It's crucial to share the environment social impact assessment with them, roll it out to them, and therefore they can tell us what their views are. The entire ESIA study process began in January 2015, subsequent to the Petitions Committee upholding their decision for Amu Power to go ahead with the project. And we did extensive baseline studies to be able to understand what kinds of potential environment and social impacts this project would precipitate. We brought in international consultants as well, as specialists, people who are doing specialist studies on what we refer to as air dispersion modeling, noise modeling, thermal plume modeling, and so on. We also have our own local specialists that we've utilized, especially for things like cultural heritage, where we recognize Lamu Stone Town being a World Heritage Site, and therefore we brought in people from the National Museums of Kenya to be able to work with us in terms of understanding what the archaeological and cultural heritage impacts of the project would be, potentially. All these have been collated and put in a pretty detailed report, which, as is shown on the screen, is correct, that the Environment Social Impact Assessment Study has been completed. And it's currently undergoing an internal review before we can release it publicly for comments and review. Once we've gotten the approval to release the report, it is going to be available on Amu Power's website. Now, this particular presentation that we're doing today is a follow-up to the one that we had with yourselves at the Crown Plaza earlier this year. And therefore, we will be using Amu Power's website as the first point of contact where you can download information associated with the project. That kind of information will be real, it will be factual, and therefore that'll be your first point of contact before you get to speak to any one of us for clarifications. The stakeholder engagements that we've carried out have been going on since January. We've had stakeholder engagements with the youth, with the communities that live within the area. We've had stakeholder engagements with the civil society groups that are in that area, in Lamu County itself. We've had meetings with the county government. We've had several meetings with the county assembly. We've had the senators associated with the Energy Committee going out there to familiarize themselves about the project. We've had the ministry itself do quite a bit of sensitization with respect to the Resettlement Action Plan. And these are all part of the stakeholder engagement that is going to be a continuous process, not only during this phase of the Environment and Social Impact Assessment, but it will also go on once the construction of the project begins, and it will go on further when we begin the operations of the project. So the submission to NEMA, as Cyrus correctly pointed out, is scheduled for the 30th of October, so that we submit a report to them for consideration. We submitted the report to the African Development Bank, who are providing the partial risk guarantee. That we've done towards the end of August, and so they're still in the process of having their reviewers go through the entire environment and social impact assessment, and we'll be addressing the comments that they raise. As Cyrus also correctly showed in the project timeline, one of the crucial aspects that has prevented us from submitting the Environment Social Impact Assessment to NEMA has been the development of a Resettlement Action Plan. Without a Resettlement Action Plan, our Environment Social Impact Assessment will be an incomplete document, and neither NEMA nor the lenders will be able to accept a document that doesn't look at the issues associated with resettlement. We're fortunate that we followed the correct process by bringing in the National Lands Commission, who are mandated to perform these kinds of functions, and Salome will articulate that for us in a few minutes after I complete. John Omenge from the Ministry of Energy, being the client, is deeply involved in this process, and we expect that the Resettlement Action Plan will be ready by the end of October so that we can submit it together with the Environment and Social Impact Assessment Study. One of the things that we will be doing, and we have been doing, and will continue to do it, is what we call a communication information plan. And it's very important for us to continue engaging with stakeholders such as yourselves, who are very important to us as far as getting the correct message out to the public is concerned with respect to the project. There are various communication methods that we're going to be using. I've listed a couple of them there that we'll continue to use with respect to disseminating information about this project. One of the aspects that we're bringing in this project is what is referred to as clean coal technologies. And clean coal technologies generally tend to be good things for sustainable projects. We've got to look at this particular project from the perspective that we want to make sure that the environment is not harmed in any way, that we have a sustainable project that can work in that community, that we're a good neighbor in the community in which we operate. Those are critical aspects as far as the project is concerned. So one of the things that has been incorporated into the design of this power plant is these things called clean coal technologies. Clean coal technologies are basically associated with the emissions that are going to be coming out from the chimney of this particular power plant. And those emissions are going to look like the common ones that we see are what's mentioned there called sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, carbon dioxides, and particulate matter. Now, these are combustion products. And we can look at these from two perspectives. Either we're generating a waste, for example, the ash that is going to come out from the power plant, that could be a waste, or we could actually use it to manufacture other things. In other words, it's no longer a waste, it becomes a byproduct. So we're going to be looking at how we can add value to some of these things that are in people's mind, which they talk about emissions that are going to come out of the stack or the chimney. How can we utilize this a little more effectively with respect to this particular power plant? So we have, in terms of the technologies themselves, this plant is going to have what we refer to as low nitrous oxide burners, and that basically means that nitrogen oxide, which is a gas that comes out from the chimney and usually causes smog and is an ozone depleting substance, will be reduced as a result of this technology that is being brought in. That's the first one. The modeling that has been carried out based on the various types of coals that are going to be used or could be used potentially in this power plant all indicate that as far as all the emissions are concerned, we will be in full compliance with the World Bank's environment standards or guidelines when it comes to air emissions. So that we don't have a problem with justifying to anyone based on the modeling that has been carried out. Another technology that we're bringing in this project is what is called wet flue gas desulfurization. And that basically means that we want to clean up the sulfur dioxide that's going to come out of the power plant, and that can be used for manufacturing of things like this: wallboard, gypsum. It can also be used in the cement industry for manufacture of cement. So we want to try and see how we can utilize some of this byproducts before we think about use it or defining them as a waste. The last technology that is being brought in, and these are worldwide technologies that are utilized, are electrostatic precipitators. And these electrostatic precipitators will try and remove the soot that comes out of burning coal or the emissions that come out from there, and it'll produce something called fly ash. And fly ash, as I'm going to show you, it can be utilized for various uses. In terms of manufacturing or building roads, tarmac roads, they're an excellent binder that can be utilized in those kinds of things. I'm just going to show you a couple of minutes of what a wet flue gas desulfurization system looks like and what it does in terms of the byproducts that it can produce.
If you do have any more queries, our contacts are listed on the press packs that you'll get at the door as you head out. So please feel free to write to us or write to Africa Practice. Either way, we shall get back to you on your concerns. Thank you once again. Very special thanks to NLC, to the Ministry, to Centum as well, and to Current Technologies. We appreciate your time. And that's it for today. Have a lovely day. Thank you.